No, we all want to change the world. You tell me that it's evolution. Well, you know, we all want to change the world. But when you talk about destruction,
Creators, what I want you to do during our study of the American Revolution is really want you to think to yourself, is there anything that you believe is worth fighting for? To what length would you fight for your cause? What would fighting or taking action look like to you? We're going to take more time to learn more about the American Revolution and how it relates directly to our lives today. And I'm sure right now you have been watching the news or you have been discussing in your homes with your families about the protests that are happening across our nation. And I really love teaching the American Revolution to you because you're going to learn about how the events that happened over 200 years ago still influence how we take action today as citizens. So I hope as we start to learn about the Constitution and we learn about the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights, we're going to see how the actions of the Founding Fathers really impact our actions today. So I want you to remember, and this is why I have an American flag up and posted, is because protesting, expressing your dissent for something you don't agree with is very American, and it started over 200 years ago. So let's go ahead and get started and learn more about the American Revolution. Today we're going to focus on the Patriots and the Loyalists. We're also going to learn about the Boston Massacre. We're going to learn about the Intolerable Acts, and we're going to learn about the First Continental Congress. So those three events still impact us today. So let's go ahead and get started. Last week we learned about, prior to the Revolution, there was a war between France and Great Britain called the French and Indian War, or the 7 Years' War. What happened as a result is Britain won that war. They also gained some new land, but we've learned that war is very expensive. King George III and the British Parliament, or the British government, had decided to create some new taxes that the colonists had to pay in order to raise more money as a result of the 7 Years' War. The first act that King George III and Parliament came up with was the Sugar Act. And if you remember, the Sugar Act was a tax that the colonists had to pay for anything, for purchasing, buying sugar, such as plain sugar and molasses. The next act that King George III and Parliament came up with was the Stamp Act. The Stamp Act was a special tax that the colonists had to pay for purchasing stamps or using any type of paper products. They had to buy a special stamp for important legal documents for business and for court. The next tax that the colonists had to pay was on currency. The British Parliament and King George III established a law or tax that made it really difficult or impossible for colonists to use paper money or any type of paper bills that were created in the colonies. By this time, the colonists were frustrated and angry with King George III and British Parliament because they had to pay taxes on things they bought every single day. But the problem wasn't necessarily the taxes, it was that nobody asked for their voice or for their vote when they had decided that the colonists were going to pay for these taxes. And as a result, the colonists had a famous phrase, "No taxation without representation." They did not believe that they should pay the taxes without having somebody represent them in Parliament. And at this time, nobody represented the colonists when these decisions were made.